Hi there, I am here to do a tag to Sylvie from Tarot Magpie, and the tag is Romance Tropes, and what it is it's a tag about relationships that we have with our decks. I thought this is a very fun tag, and I enjoy watching Sylvie. I just discovered her channel not very long ago, and I've been having fun watching it. And this tag has 10 prompts, and she said sometimes she uses more than one deck. And I watched this before I left, and I went to New York. I watched this before I went to New York. I think it came out that day, and then I left and I just got back, so I just wanted to do the tag. And there's 10 prompts. I'm going to use only tarot. And this first tag is Enemies to Lovers, a deck or system you insisted just wasn't for you until you realized it was. And the deck that I thought I would not ever want, that I was just like, no, not for me, was Patrick Valenza's Triomphe della Luna, Paradoxical Blue. And honestly, his art just wasn't something that I thought I would ever use until I saw this particular deck, and now I enjoy a lot of his work, but I was just like, nope, that art is not for me. Now I love it, and I love how he depicts things, and I also really enjoy using this deck under black light. I think it's really fun, and I enjoy his pips, and I think this is a very fun deck. It's one of my favorites of his, but I actually have some other decks of his now, because once I got used to the artwork, I had fun with it, and now I'm a fan. So this is Triomphe della Luna, Paradoxical Blue Tarot. I think this is still in print, and I think you can still get it, although I am not 100% sure, because his decks tend to go in and out of print. But I think I saw this one within the last few months, so I'm pretty sure this one's still available. Kind of funny how our tastes change. Okay, next prompt is Friends to Lovers, a deck you used to like well enough, and then one reading and everything changed and you liked it more. So for me, that was the Sea Witch. I did show this in my May decks, and I never disliked this deck. It is about Madame Dauphine. It is by Willow White Raven. But it was a deck that I just wasn't really using a whole lot. I had it for quite a while and used it a few times. But I used it last month in Don Michelle's group, the Fellowship. And we were on our way to the coast, and so I kind of wanted to use a coast deck, but I was saving my watery, really watery sea decks for this month. So I wanted something that I kind of maybe didn't use all the time. So the reason I didn't use this deck is it felt really different to have these very simple pips and this kind of elaborate. Some of the pips are elaborate, like the 5 of coins here. And so it felt a little bit jarring to me at first. I've grown to just love it now. And it was just because I used it a lot last month, and I was just going to use it for the Fellowship, and then I started using it more for other things, and then I just ended up really loving it. So now I'm a big fan of this deck. And I know I just talked about this, but it was on my mind when I saw these prompts, so I'm showing it to you again. This is still available. It's a very fun deck, and it is one of those decks I feel like the more you use it, the more you get used to it and like it and enjoy it. It's really fun. All right, next prompt is Forced Proximity. A deck used for a month, took on holiday, and it was kind of the only thing you used for a while. Well, I have two of these. One of them is the Tarot Arthurian by Claire Duvall. Oh, I fell in love with this deck. I took it to the beach when I go to the beach. When I was in Hawaii, I didn't really have internet or phone, so I was kind of out of touch of everything. I could go up to the cafe, and the internet's not good up there, but I could like post to Instagram or something. But I really had a chance to spend a lot of time with this deck and just really read the guidebook. And I fell in love with it. It's really a cool deck. And the guidebook has a lot of information. It's so thick, it's chunky, and it just goes into so much information. It is in French. I have heard that an English version is coming out, so that'll be great for people that don't read French. Or I think there's a like Google app or something you can use if you don't speak French. I have heard that people like that. I have not used that a whole lot in the past, so I can't really speak to it. But anyway, I really enjoyed this deck. And it did really change my relationship. If I hadn't brought it to Hawaii with me, and I was in Hawaii for about 10 weeks, I don't know that I would be as bonded to this deck. I use it all the time now. And partly just because I had time to spend with it. Everything Claire Duvall does is amazing. And I think Anna Turian's artwork is really magnificent. And she is quite an artist. So the combination is pretty impressive here. And I hope it does come out in English. Our next prompt is Soulmates. A deck that you knew it was just meant to be, a deck that you fell in love with immediately. And I have several. Oh, I was going to show you one other deck that I brought to Hawaii that I spent a lot of time with is the Witch Sister Tarot. This is an amazing deck. And part of why this is like super impressive is the guidebook. Do I have it out here? I might not have it out here. I don't know if I do. I don't think I do. No. Oh, no, I do. Here it is. So this is the guidebook. And it talks a lot about each of the cards, and then it just tells about it a little bit. It's a Scottish witchcraft deck, and it does definitely go its own way. It's not a traditional RWS deck at all in any way. But I also really got bonded with this deck and spent quite a bit of time with it, and I do really love it. I did follow the Facebook learning group when I was over there, when I could get internet, but, you know, we'd come up to the cafe every once in a while and I'd read the comments on Facebook about it. And then I came home and I was still using it a little bit, and then I'm in Lisa Pepez's group, Magical Unicorns, and then we started studying this deck like maybe a month or 6 weeks after I came home. So now we're in another study for this deck. So that has changed my relationship with this. And, you know, spending time with decks really does change how you see them. And getting to have that ability to spend a lot of time with one deck really makes a difference. But this is a very good deck. Don't love the backs, they're not my very favorite, but I do love the deck. But I mean, they're kind of like a peach. They're soft, and the deck has some cards that are pretty similar to that color, so it's not like it doesn't match. I did edge it in that color. It's not my favorite color in the world, but it's kind of an orangey, peachy color. But I love the deck. Okay, next prompt is Soulmates. And my deck for Soulmates is the Tabula Mundi. I actually have several, but this is definitely one of those decks that I just fell in love with when I got it. It does have some extra cards at the back, so I'm going to take those out. It's decking cards, which are optional. You don't have to get it with that. But. So this deck I fell in love with the moment I saw it. I love this Empress card. And just like got it, started using it for a long time, used nothing else because it was just so cool. I love Emmeline's artwork. She put a lot of thought into this deck, and it's kind of magical. Very cool. I have multiple versions of this deck. I even have a little teeny one that I take all around. I just throw in my purse. And this one looks like maybe I had it back in order partially, and then maybe not. I'm not sure what I did there. Anyway, it's a deck that I love from the moment I saw it. I love that star card. The Fool is super cool. It's going into a wormhole. This deck just has a lot of meaning, and I really think it's just gorgeous and beautiful. I love that Eight of Cups. Anyway, it's easy for me to read this deck, so it makes it not as much effort as some decks. Tabula Mundi by M.M. Moline. Another one is Invisible Light Tarot by Brandy Eve Allen. I've had this deck for probably 7 years. It was one of the most expensive decks I bought when I got it. I think it was like $50 or $60, which was a lot back then. She is redoing this deck. It'll probably be available next year. But I have taken this on multiple trips, and I'm really bonded to it. And the cards are really tied into my personal life and my history of things, and I've worked with it so much that I'm just so bonded with this deck. But from the moment I saw it, I fell in love with it. I love this photography style. This is a deck that even if people don't even like photography decks, they love this deck. There's a couple decks that people love even if they're not into photography. And this is one of those. And so it will be exciting to have a new version of this deck. Okay, that's one of my Soulmate decks. Invisible Light Tarot. Okay, next prompt is Slow Burn, a deck you didn't have the best impression of, but the more you worked with it, the more you liked it. So for me, that is the Red Seeds Tarot, and I wasn't sure about this deck when I first got it, and it took me several years to really kind of start using it. It's about the Lucian mysteries, and so I think it took me getting Kara Small's deck about Persephone to really get me really over that hump and into this deck. I had decided I was going to use it in the spring because I tried to use it in the fall a couple times and just never used it, partially because I have so many fall decks. But now I'm down this whole rabbit hole with Persephone, and I'm reading all these books, and it's fascinating to find out all the information around Persephone and the history. And right now I'm reading kind of an academic book about Persephone and the history of the Lucian mysteries. But I'm at this point where I'm really enjoying this deck, and I just couldn't get past it for a while. And it wasn't that I didn't like it. I wanted to use it. Something was just, I don't know. Yeah, I like it, but I'll use it some other time. And now I used it in April. I'm using it this month. Now I'm really into it. And I like the guidebook. The guidebook's not out here, but it's really good. It's got a suit of bees. I think for a while that was hard for me to get past. I don't know why. I like bees. It just was kind of different to have a suit. Now I'm used to it, and I am really interested in all the myths and history around Persephone. So that is the Red Seeds Tarot. All right, next prompt is Opposites Attract. This deck is not your usual style, but you love it anyway. So for me, that is the Strange Beast Tarot. And this was total, I backed it on Kickstarter. So, I mean, I knew I was going to like it, but it's totally a different style, though, than what I'm used to. It's just an odd deck, but I freaking love it. It's really different. I don't know if there is another deck that's like this style, but it is not my typical style for sure. But it's really cool and just really different and fun, and it's odd, but I really like it. I actually was really excited about it when I backed it, just because I hadn't ever seen anything like it. It's really fun for me. I really enjoy it. I don't show it a lot on social media, but I use it a lot just in my personal life. I haven't had it that long. I think it was sometime. Did I get it this year? Maybe no, it was probably last year. Anyway, super cool. It could have been this year. I don't know. Time is so messed up for me right now. Look at that. His tongue's hanging out of his mouth. It's just bizarre. Anyway, very fun deck. I think this is still around. It's the Strange Beast Tarot. Shin Yen Kwan, I think. And the production quality is amazing. It's got these beautiful copper edges. It's kind of like a linen cardstock. It's really cool. Super cool deck. Blind Date. An impulse buy, gift, or deck you got without much research but ended up really loving. So for me, that is the Compound Tarot. I saw this deck, I don't know, a few years ago. Just like fell in love with it. I don't know what it was, but I saw it and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. I totally love this deck. And I got it. I knew that I would love it. It was total impulse buy. Like, I was flipping through something, saw this deck. I think it was on Beth's site. Beth Cillian is the creator of the deck, and it's her art. She does a lot of majors only decks, but I don't know what it was. I think it's just so different and cool. And so I love this one. And it is the Compound Tarot. I don't think there were very many of this. This is kind of plasticky. But it's kind of cool because you can spill stuff on it. You don't have to worry about it. Which is really nice. So that's fun. Really different deck. Okay, next prompt is Second Chance. A deck you plan to get rid of, but that worked its way back into rotation. or you ended up repurchasing. So this deck is tied into like some things I used to do with my mom, and I did get rid of it once and rebought it. I didn't use it for a long time because my mom's no longer alive. And then I started using it again last year. And I went and reread all the novels, rewatched the movies, because it's so tied into the Jane Austen novels. So I think there's 2 decks that are Jane Austen decks. This is the Lo Scarabeo version. And I can't remember who this is by. Diane Wilkes and Lola Aragati. So it's very cool if you are into the Jane Austen novels. If you don't like those, it might not be as good. And it also is tied into the Decans, if you have the guidebook, which is kind of cool. So this is an unusual deck, and one I've had mixed relationships with. But at this point, I have gotten to where I am using the deck and love it. I'm not going to ever get rid of it again because it's now out of print and kind of hard to get a hold of at this point. So I know I will never get rid of it. But it was one that was a little up and down in my collection for a while. Not anymore. And I think this might be a little bit hard to find, although I do see it around quite a bit. But it can go for like $150, $200, which is kind of ridiculous for a Lo Scarabeo deck, in my opinion, is it still has all the languages up there, and it's not like special cardstock or anything. Nope. I think it's probably not worth that unless you could get it for a more reasonable price. All right, Tarot of Jane Austen. So this deck, and I wasn't 100% sure about getting rid of it, but it's kind of the deck that I most was like, I don't know if I can read with this, because it is a collab deck by 78 Tarot, and it's the Astral version. And I didn't used to read with these. I just got these decks mostly just to kind of look at and like look at the different art. But I've gotten to where I love reading with this now. The art is really different from one card to the other. And these decks are like that. All the 78 Tarots are collab decks. So the art's really different. It tells you the artist is down at the bottom. But this one is in my regular rotation of decks I read with. And at first it was hard because the art was different, but I've gotten to where now I just enjoy using it as a tarot, and just I got used to just the different styles in it. And this is my favorite of all the 78 tarots, the Astral one, because I like the space theme, as you probably know from me talking about the last prompt. But I think this deck is really cool and beautiful. And I like seeing everybody's idea of the their astral part of the tarot. And so it's really fun for me, and I really enjoy it. And I like almost all the cards in it. So there isn't, like, I don't have cards that I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I like everything. And you just never know what's going to turn up. And it's just kind of fun. So I've grown to really enjoy it and love it, actually. I do love this one. I've gotten to where I use all of these decks now. But this is just my favorite of all of them. And it has a couple extra cards, like meditation. Right now, I think There is a 78 Tarot funding on Indiegogo that is kind of a collaboration on different parts of all of their decks. And I'm not sure which cards are in it, but I think that's kind of cool. I think this Ace of Pentacles is so beautiful. A lot of the cards in this deck are very beautiful. I love this High Priestess. I think it's so cool. And this is another one of the extra cards, Event Horizon, which is a really cool one. This is a little bit, the Emperor's a little intense. Anyway, that is the 78 Tarot, Astral Tarot, my Unrequited Love. No, that's my Second Chance deck. Unrequited Love is the next prompt. And for Unrequited Love, I will tell you about the Fountain Tarot. This is a deck I have actually got rid of and repurchased. Maybe this is the third time I repurchased it. I'm not going to get rid of it again, but for some reason, I'm not sure. I think the deck is incredibly beautiful. Just haven't really used it a lot or bonded with it. I think the art is gorgeous. I'm not sure what it is that makes me not pick this one up. I think maybe I need to find something to pair it with. And then maybe, yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll find something that pairs with it really well. And then make an effort to use it. Maybe I'll try that this summer. Because I think maybe if I had something that paired with it, it would just be something I used. And I think there's at least one extra, I think that might be the only extra card actually. But wow, what a beautiful deck. It's very air feeling. Airy. I think this is one of the cards that made me like, I don't know, that Death card, because it's a little bit different. But I do think it's pretty, and I'm not going to let it go again, because I've let it go twice. And then I keep rebuying it, so I'm just like, okay, I'm done letting it go. I just need to find a way to use it. And I had the indie version originally, let that one go. Then I got the mass market, let that one go. And then I rebought this one. I think the indie version and this version are almost identical. Like, I don't even think the cardstock, I don't remember though at this point, but I don't even think it feels different. The cardstock's great. The deck's gorgeous. It's really clear. It's got this haze in it. It's just beautiful artwork. I think it's by Roost, is the mass market publisher. Okay, last prompt is Love Triangle, 2 decks that are in competition with each other in your collection, or a pair of decks that you always use together. So for me, that was the Goblins and Garden Tarot and the Hezekos Tarot. And these are decks that are always in competition with each other. And I think they're somewhat similar, and they are both garden decks, and I'll walk you through both of them. But this year, I started using them together, repeated with each other, and this Hezekos Tarot was the one that I used most often, and it always kind of won out if I was like thinking of which one to use. So I would always end up picking this one, and I think because I had this one first, and so I just ended up being more familiar with it. And this was a deck that I had really wanted it had gone out of print. At first I thought I didn't want it. This is another one of those that I thought, oh, I didn't really like the court cards in it. So I didn't buy it, and then it went out of print, and then I was like, oh, but there are so many things about it I love, and I didn't realize it was going to go out of print. And then I got it in a trade, and I started using it all the time, and I started really appreciating it, and I really loved it. So I might have used it a lot for a while. And got really bonded to it. I love all of it now. I love everything about this deck. But I also was kind of like regretting not having purchased it when it was in print. But luckily I was able to do a trade. I love this Four of Rods. And it's just beautiful. Anyway, so when I wanted like garden gnomes and that kind of style, I always picked this deck. And then I got this deck because I thought, oh, that's really cute, and it reminds me kind of the Hesychos. Well, then what I didn't realize is it maybe reminded me too much of the Hesychos, because then I would just always pick the Hesychos and never pick this deck. And I had this deck for a long time before I really used it. I think it is now, it was out of print for a little bit, just for a short period of time, and now it's back in print. And that's the cover. And it is by Jonathan Sasha. So what happened was we had a garden week, and I used it for Michelle's fellowship group, and I used both of them together the same month. And then I started seeing what this has that's different, and I ended up really liking them, and I often use them together now, but I could totally just use this deck by itself. I think it's really fun, but I wasn't sure at first about like the black and white with the collage, and it's Dungeons and Dragons characters in here, and then the mix of that with the plants, I don't know, it was just different. But now I'm used to it and really enjoy it and think it's a fun deck. And it's available, and the Hesychos is not available. Or it's hard. It's really hard to get, I think. Because I had a hard time getting it before when I wanted it. So this is fun and a companion and no longer as much of a competitor. And I use it, you know, in my garden sometimes when I'm doing planting and things, and out and around, and it'll remind me of like my plants. So, and it's a little different than the Hesychos. It's got a different vibe, but they're fun to use together. And I also found oracles that paired with both of them. So it's a fun deck. And I enjoy it. Thanks for watching. See ya.